You are listening to the Marc Guzman Podcast Experience. Before we get started, just a reminder that you can find all of my available rental properties on my website at marcguzman.com. If you own investment property, click on the Owner Services section to see our complete list of services. Today we will be sampling the Gold IPA, provided by our sponsor, East Brother Beer Company. Located on Canal Boulevard in Point Richmond, East Brother Beer mixes the classic styles of old with the precision and sensibility of the modern day to create the perfect beer experience. Go check them out at eastbrotherbeer.com. When one thinks of smoked meats, you can't fault them for thinking of meats from Texas or Southern America in terms of where the best meats come from. What you may not know, however, is that there is a great source of smoked meats just north of the border in Canada. Earlier this year, Lex Gopnik-Lewinski brought the taste of Canada to the East Bay, opening up Augies Montreal Style Deli in Berkeley. As our guest today, he'll tell us the story of how he brought this smoked taste of Canada to the Bay Area. Sweet. Well, Lex, thanks for coming out onto the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks for
cheers.
the beer. And
Of course.
you know, it's 11 o'clock somewhere, sometime at 5 o'clock in the East Coast or Midwest or somewhere. So we'll take it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
So shout out to East Brother Beer.
Yeah.
They're one of our sponsors for the show.
Right
I
on.
really like the beer. Have you tried their beer before?
I have not. So that is a very nice IPA. It's not too, doesn't kick you in the throat too bad like some of these guys. Bro, my hops are hoppier than your hops, bro. I'm not a fan of that. This is nice.
Yeah. They try to keep it very classic, you know. And you have a lot of beer companies right now trying to just do some ridiculous, just wild out there.
No.
Have you tried those sour?
So we're
beers?
getting sour beer coming into to Augies.
Okay.
We're gonna have Rare Barrel coming in. There's some customers of ours, and they're bringing some stuff in, and they've got some really cool, interesting stuff. And once you try the sandwich that we've got here on the table, I think you'll see why it's a good pairing. Again, our sandwich is very fatty and rich, and so that sour balance is really nice. It's part of what we do with our pickles and our coleslaw, and it also works out really well with the sour beer. So when we get we'll have Rare Barrel in on tap either this week or next week, so it'll be a nice way to complement it. And some of them are a little over the top sour, but the ones they've got down there are really nice. Like they got this strawberry one, and I was like, this is not going to be good. And it was phenomenal, man. I was like, strawberry beer, really? No, it came out really nice.
I just recently tried sour beers just 2 years ago, and I was like, okay, this is wild. It's out there, but it's also, you know, it caught my palate. Like I was curious about it, and then just trying a few other ones, and it's one of those you either love it or you hate it.
Totally.
Right?
I think same thing with IPAs, right? People feel the same way about IPAs. They're either IPA guys or gals, or they're not, and there's not a kind of like, oh, it's okay. Yeah. So kind of same thing with the sour beer. So it's interesting. Again, great beer culture here in the East Bay for sure, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a ton of breweries popping up left and right.
Totally. What I find is ironic is we get a lot of these craft beer guys who come into Augies, and we have traditional Canadian beer and bottle, you know, Labatt's, Molson, Moosehead, and they come in and they're craft beer makers, but they're like, man, I just sometimes just want like a normal beer that just is like beer flavored beer that tastes like beer. So when they come in, they're ordering a lot of those Molson Canadians, and for those that don't know, Molson Canadian is essentially it's like the Budweiser of Canada. So it's not anything fancy, but it's different and separate and just kind of a standard lager. And so it's ironic that they come in and ask for that a lot.
So I was just having this conversation with previous podcast guests that we look at Budweiser as a standard normal beer, but Budweiser is a high-end beer in Japan.
Right.
Like that's like their top end.
Totally.
Beer.
And Sapporo is swill that you know what I mean, that the alcoholics on the street are drinking. Hey, I guess it's importation, right? Anything different or unique is going to be your higher end stuff, I guess. Little do they know.
Yeah. Now, you're a hockey fan.
Yes, sir.
You and Sam were.
I'm Canadian, so I have to be a hockey fan. There's not a choice. They'll pull your passport for that type of stuff if you're not into hockey as a Canadian.
So I assume you grew up playing hockey.
I grew up playing ice hockey. We moved here in '88 from Canada, and I started playing over at the old Berkeley Iceland. Rest in peace, Berkeley Iceland. Miss them. Pour out some beer for good old Iceland over on Milvia Street in Berkeley. And then started playing a little more competitive. Did travel hockey before the Sharks kind of moved to San Jose and opened up all their youth rinks in San Jose, they were kind of the tier team for Northern California. So they would draw players from as far south as Fresno, as far north as Santa Rosa, and put together like a select team, and we were the junior Sharks. So I played for them for a while. So I'd
Very
go
cool.
get my ass kicked around the country by other people. I mean, our jerseys were the freshest jerseys in the tournaments, but boy, we get whooped by those Canadians or those Midwest boys or those Michigan boys. They put a good beating on us, but it was fun. And the cool thing about hockey, like most of my friends who I consider my close friends are all people that we grew up playing hockey with, and that's kind of been cool thing about opening up the deli is all of a sudden, like, these old hockey teammates who didn't even put two and two together that was my place, like, start showing up and are coming because, you know, they hear it's a hockey bar and that there's Canadian food, and so they want to try it out. So I've seen a bunch of guys who I haven't seen in like 20 years who are now like coming through to hang out and watch a game. So it's really cool for the first game of the Sharks-Ducks playoffs series. Like, I must have had about 15 ex-teammates who are just coming and hanging out and
cool.
randomly coming through. So hockey, Canadian food, bringing everybody together. It's been fun, man.
Hockey is one of those sports I didn't really follow growing up.
You're
but
from out here?
Yeah, from Bay Area. Yeah.
Okay.
But I have a huge respect for anyone who can play hockey because just getting on the ice rink alone can be pretty difficult for most people.
Right.
And then trying to just play a game at that kind of level is just incredible.
It's a fun sport, man. It's a good sport. I suggest any people that are listening, if you can't get it on TV, go watch a game live, drop the money, make a day out of it, go hang out in San Jose and watch the game live. It's a pretty impressive sport. And, I mean, also the athletes are just – they're humble, they're down to earth, they're very cool people, and, you know, people kind of bitch and complain about high-priced athletes not earning their money. These guys earn their checks. Like, as people see during the playoffs, like, all the injuries will come out when you're knocked out, and it's guys are playing with broken hands and torn ACLs and broken legs. You're not going to see that in any other sport. Only hockey players are the only ones that go out there and kind of put it out on the line and really earn the millions of dollars that they're getting to play. So
yeah,
that's a big deal, I think.
Well, what team was it that had the accountant that just came out?
Oh, Chicago Blackhawks.
Chicago?
Yeah, the emergency goaltender.
Yeah.
Coming in his
That was
suit
a great
to get
story,
in there and play.
too.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about Augies.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go a little bit before Augies.
Okay.
So you were born and raised in Canada. What made you come
I was
out?
actually born in the UK, so I'm actually
Okay.
a triple citizen. I got British passport, Canadian passport, and American passport. My mom was a professor at the University of Toronto. She got a job at Cal. So that's kind of what moved us out here from Canada. I was way back in 1988. Then the
How-
earthquake hit. I was like 11. Then the earthquake hit. Then there was like fires. There was like Rodney King riots. And I was like, Mom, where the hell did you move us to? Just a white boy from Canada. I'm just trying to get by, figure this world out. And you moved us to this crazy apocalyptic place. But no, it turned out cool. Love California now. Definitely consider myself a Californian. So that's kind of what brought us out to the Bay Area.
Okay. Now, Augies. It's a deli, Berkeley. Where's it located in Berkeley?
875 Potter Street. So it's right off the Ashby Avenue exit.
Okay.
We got some parking out front. Not in the most. It's kind of an industrial area. It's the last part of Berkeley that hasn't really been developed necessarily, and it's kind of getting towards that point. So there's a lot of businesses in the area, a lot of biotech companies. So we're getting a lot of customers who are, you know, people that work in the area that want to have something different for lunch and don't want to go to, you know, Subway or something like that. Are coming in, and then again a lot of expat Canadians on the weekends and in the evening who are driving to come get a little taste of home.
Very neat. Now, you brought us
I brought a
sandwich
smoked
here.
meat sandwich. That's the original sandwich, so it's an 8-ounce sandwich. It comes with the accoutrements you see there with the pickles and the coleslaw. We do a Montreal style coleslaw, so instead of a mayo-based coleslaw, it's a vinegar-based coleslaw. Vinegar, a little bit of sugar, and some celery seed. And then we do a little bit of a stronger pickle. You should eat though. I know you're
I
talking.
wanna dive into
but you
this.
should eat a little bit. I can cover you and sing the Canadian national anthem or something while your mouth is full, so you're not sitting there grubbing on there.
Do we have another fork?
We can grab another fork, or you can just grab the sandwich. Rye bread,
That's
meat,
really good.
rye bread, meat, and mustard, which is kind of the traditional way that they would do it in Canada. I used to cure the meat by hand, and it was about an 11-day process from finished product or from raw brisket to finished product. It's basically the description we give is it's like corned beef and pastrami got drunk and had a baby in a crazy night, and so you're getting some of that corned beefy texture, that spicy, rich pastrami
you can taste
flavor.
That crazy night.
Yeah, exactly. You can taste that crazy night. Exactly. They're loose, man. Those deli meats, man, they get nuts. You don't even want to know what kind of stuff goes on in there. And so that's basically what we do. And this is traditional. This is exactly what you see in Montreal. You'd even see this all over Canada right now. Even Subway has a quote unquote Montreal smoked meat sandwich. It's not really that, but it's ubiquitous throughout the country. And
the flavors just pop.
Yeah,
it's so strong.
Yeah, it's a strong flavor. The spice rub is something that we've worked on for a while. And, again, it kind of gives you the best of both worlds between pastrami and corned beef. Huge Jewish population in Montreal. At one point, they had the third largest Hasidic Jewish population in the world. Some of the highest numbers of Holocaust survivors actually came to Montreal after World War II. So there's this Jewish kind of deli culture that's rooted in the history of the city. And we also have, like, Montreal bagels, which are different from what you would get like a New York bagel. They're boiled in honey water with wood-fired oven. So, again, it's the same stuff. It's just kind of a twist on what it is. Mm-hmm. So our process is we take a whole brisket as opposed to the half that, like, a corned beef that you get on St. Patrick's Day is normally from what's called the flat of the brisket. So that's the lower part of the cow's leg. And then the pastrami, navel, or deckle would come from the upper part of the leg, lower part of the cow's belly. So that's where kind of you get some more of the marbling, some more of the fat. So traditionally, you would take those two pieces of brisket, kind of separate them, and then cure or smoke each one. We do the entire thing. In Montreal, we take the entire brisket and cure it and then smoke it. So we have our own spice rub and setup. I used to bring the stuff home from Canada all the time for friends. They'd be like, man, Lex, gotta hook me up with some of that Montreal meat, bro. Here's $50. Go get me some of that Montreal meat. So I'd go and do it, and it wasn't an issue because you clear customs in Canada. You clear U.S. customs in Canada as opposed to when you're coming from another country and you land in the U.S. and then you go clear customs. In Canada, because of the closeness and proximity and just the fact that, we're each other's biggest trading partners, et cetera, customs is cleared in Canada. So all of the agents, the U.S. customs agents, live in Canada, whatever city they're in. So if they're in Toronto, they're in Toronto. If they're in Montreal, they're in Montreal. So the Montreal guys all know Montreal smoked meat, and they're like, yeah, of course. Yeah, oh, yeah, no problem. Bring it in. And then there was a mad cow scare in, like, the late 2000s. And I got busted, man. I brought some meat in. I wasn't trying to hide it. I had it just on my cart walking in. The customs agent, nope, can't bring that in anymore. And so that was kind of the impetus to find a recipe, start messing with it myself. And, that's how kind of
your own.
More. Yeah, we started doing our own. And, again, 11-day process from raw brisket to finished product. We used a salt cure to essentially draw out all the liquid from the brisket, which allows all the spices and our spice mix and our cure to then soak into the brisket. Then you got to soak out all the salt out of that. Otherwise, it would just be a salty mess. So that's 4 hours, changing the water every half an hour. So it was very labor intensive, but it came out well. So we were doing that for a while. Brought it over to Beauty's Bagel Shop, who does a Montreal Style bagel. They're over at 38th and Telegraph. Shout out Beauty's Bagel Shop, Blake and Amy. Love them, good people. And I said, just give this a try, dude, because, like, I don't know you, and I don't want to, your mom and your family's always going to be like, oh, man, it's great, it's phenomenal, it's really good. You can't trust that. So let's get, like, an unbiased neutral opinion. And he was like, man, this is really good. And as a matter of fact, I'm doing these Montreal bagels, and I have customers who are coming in like, hey, you ever going to do Montreal smoked meat? I don't know how to do it. Why don't you come do some pop-ups here? So we popped up, and for those that don't know what pop-up is, essentially a restaurant will allow you to use their kitchen, which comes along with their health certificate, and you can sell food to the public and kind of try stuff out. So a lot of people are doing that now, which is pretty cool because you can see if there's a market for your product before you go ahead and sink, huge amounts of dough in. So let us do that. Thing went crazy. We're selling I could do up to like 200 pounds at one go myself. We'd sell like 200 pounds in like an hour. Like people were just coming in, getting all these great reviews. Things were going really well. And so we did that for a bunch, we did that for a couple of years. I was still working. I used to work over at Comcast Sportsnet, and eventually had some investors who approached me and said, hey, man, we got some money. Whenever you're ready to make this real, let's do it. And so that's kind of how it was born. Now we've got a co-packer who's a producer who makes the meat for us to our specs. And he uses science to basically cut down that 11-day curing time. Because when I started doing the math, you're a businessman, you got to do your math of what it's going to cost you and how much money you can make off of it. Each brisket or each sandwich was going to have to, just to break even, was going to be about $30 because you got to pay somebody to do all that labor. And in the Bay Area, labor's high, and we're trying to pay a decent wage at Augies. It was always something that I was big on. So I was like, man, I'm going to have to charge like $30 for a sandwich just to break even. And that's not, even in the Bay Area. Yeah. Even in the Bay Area.
That'd be a tough sell.
Yeah, dude. And I'm Jewish. My Jewish guilt would get to me if I feel like ripping people off. Don't want to be doing that. So we got this co-packer who can now do it for us. He's got a vacuum tumbler, it's called, and it's basically like a big cement mixer. And it does the same process we do, except under an extreme vacuum. And so it essentially just like pushes the cure and our spices in through the meat in 48 hours as opposed to the 9 days that we have. Wow. And he can do it to scale. As me doing 200 pounds at a time or 400 pounds at a time, he can do 1 to 5,000 pounds at a time. So that's what we're doing now. So he's up in Reading.
So the cost of a sandwich went from $30 to, what is it?
$14.25 right now is what we're charging. So they bring it down to us now, which is also our pricing is, we priced everything versus the other delis in the area, partly because we thought it'd be a good business move, and mainly because the tradition of a Jewish deli is not fancy people's food. This is working people's food. And I want to respect that, There's something about respecting the heritage of where this is and what this is. That's why I'm not putting mayonnaise or, chipotle aiolis on it and fusing it with, ramen noodles or something. Like, that's fine. That may taste great. I'm not against that. I'm not one of these, like, it has to be this way or it has to be the other way. But I want to come into this as somebody who's not a food guy, who's doing something that people have done for 100 years, and just respect their traditions and respect their ideas and the way things were served traditionally. And also, we're the first supposedly Canadian cuisine in the Bay Area. So if I'm going to give that representation, I want to make it as authentic as possible. And so that's kind of how we do things.
Very cool. I mean, the meat tastes incredible, and I could totally see how you could pair this up with a sour beer.
Yeah, right.
And it would taste very good together.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's that cut, you know what I mean? You got to cut it. Same thing with our pickles. Pickles have a vinegar-based pickle, dill pickle, and they've got a little bit more of that sourness to kind of break up that rich fattiness.
Yeah. So how long have you been open?
We've been open for 7 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been pretty nuts. So again, the reaction's been great. A lot of folks like yourselves interested in talking about it and finding out about it. CBS News did a piece about us because, every food has been done, right? You can look online and you can find food from Afghanistan, Eastern Africa, Western Africa, from all over Asia, South America, Central America, but nobody had really done Canadian food before. One of my business partners, a guy by the name of Chef Mike C, was like, who knew Canada has this like great, interesting food scene, and they're just too polite to brag about it. So it's kind of true, kind of the same thing. So that's what we've been doing, and so far that's our main goal, is to make sure that the Canadians are like, yes, this is what you would get if you were in Quebec or you were in Montreal. We also do a thing called poutine, which is the French fries, cheese curds, and gravy. We by far make the best one around here, maybe even south of the border, from some what our French people have told us.
You may have to do a podcast episode there.
Yeah, you should do that. We'll do that mobile because it doesn't transport so well. You don't have the fryers here. You need to get it hot. But yes, we can have a couple of Canadian beers, and then we do a mobile episode over on location, because that's a good way to go. I joke with people, it's kind of like a pre-menudo for Canadians. So normally you're hungover, you have a nice bowl of menudo to get you right after you've been drinking too heavily. Poutine is kind of something that you go drink heavily, then you eat this, then you go to sleep, and you're good for the next morning. So it's like it gets you before things get out of control or get bad as far as your hangover goes. And again, good food, very hearty, not the healthiest food, and I'm not trying to be that. Another reason I wanted to open a deli is I'm a Berkeley kid. I love kale as much as everybody else. I'll probably have some growing there this year. My kids love it. I'm down with it. Not an anti-kaleite, but there was a place called Oscar's Cheeseburgers. It was like an old school burger joint. They were not a great burger. It was not some fantastic. You remember Oscar's? Yeah.
Hot dogs.
Yeah, hot dogs and hamburgers. Not like the best ever in the world, but like you just sometimes it's what you wanted, you know.
Yeah,
you wanted to be able to get it, and it had been there forever. And they closed, and they opened like a salad restaurant there, and I was like,
It's a tofu place.
yeah,
I saw.
yeah. Like you're like, at a certain point, how many of those do we need? And there are going to be people like myself who just want like sandwich with meat and bread and like a pickle and coleslaw and call it a complete meal. And so that's another reason kind of why we chose to open where we did and when we did.
Now, the investors that came to you and said, hey, let's open up a shop, were these investors that you found yourself, or did they just approach you because they tried your meat and said, hey, we need you to open up a spot?
They came to me. One of our lead investors is a guy who's one of the owners of the Warriors. He was the original CFO when Lacob took over the team. He was the one of the first CFO at Genentech when they started. So a rich old white dude. Sorry, Marty. It's just the facts. Love him though. Great guy. And he came in and approached me at a pop-up, and I kind of got the vibe. You know, you kind of think, all right, well, rich old white guy. Sure, yeah, you got lots of money. Okay, fine. Didn't take him very seriously. Just was like, maybe this guy's just talking. But he followed up with me 6 months later. Said, "You ready?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to when you're ready to do this, let's do it. You got something here. There's a need for this in this area. Whenever you're ready, let me know and we'll do it." So that's kind of how it. And then he brought a couple people on, and then there's me, Mike C, and our third partner, a guy by the name of Zach, who is a friend of mine. Our kid, my son Augie, who the restaurant's named after, and his daughter were born on the same day, and we met through some mutual people and just became friends. And he's a finance guy, like that's what he does. So he was the one that actually really gave me the confidence to go forward with this. I don't have a business background. Not a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. They're all academics and writers. And again, I came from a radio, television background. And he was also the one who was like, I think there's a viable business here, and I'll help you on the number stuff that's not your strength, and you make the meat and talk it up and do that, and then we'll figure it out. So, yeah, everything kind of came with it. Yeah, again, try to find your strengths and your weaknesses. I'm not a math guy. I've never been a math guy. I can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but if you throw it anywhere further, that's not my wheelhouse, right? But I can sell you a sandwich. I can sell you a pickle. I can chat with the best of them. And I make a damn good brisket. So I try to put people around me who could cover the stuff that I know are my shortcomings and my weaknesses, and not have an ego that's huge to be like, no, I can do everything. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And I'm just going to try to get the support from the people that can do the stuff that I know I have some shortcomings in.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why so many businesses fail, right? Because everyone tries to do everything themselves instead of partnering up with people that can supplement their weaknesses, right? You focus on your talent, you focus on what you're good at, and then partner up with someone else who can handle what you're not good at, and then you have a killer dynamic partnership that can allow you to grow.
Well, and I mean, that's the idea, right? And I mean, I think that's something that was appealing to my outside investors. I was like, look, man, I've never done this before. I'm going to make some mistakes, and I'm not a restaurant guy. I'm not a food guy. This wasn't my dream. I wasn't 12 years old. Like, one day I'm going to open a deli and be a deli man. That was never, ever a dream. I was thinking the NHL maybe, and then I realized I had no athletic talent, thinking about getting into broadcasting, but realizing that that's a very tough industry right now and kind of a declining industry right now. So again, this kind of fell onto my lap, and that's how we did it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you gotta put yourself in a position with people that can do the stuff that you can't do. My business partner, Mike C, he's a classically trained chef. He was a restaurant consultant for years, so he can look at that plate and be like, okay, that plate costs X number of dollars. I'm going to add labor into that. I'm going to add rent, all of those numbers in there. That plate needs to cost, $14.25 for us to make a decent profit and make sure we pay for the lights. And we need to order X number of pounds of cabbage to make sure we keep up with demand, and, this number of cucumbers. So he does that stuff, all the operations. He designed our kitchen so that it's incredibly efficient. Our French fry process is very different. Now, that's something that I brought to the table, and he didn't understand it necessarily and actually thought it wouldn't work. And it was one of the kind of things that I was able to educate him on, and he took that process and made the kitchen layout be as efficient as possible. It's
That's
a
one thing that's
process.
always like amazed me, the kitchen layout.
Yeah.
And how you can really increase the efficiency of plates coming out and food just by moving certain things around in the kitchen.
No doubt. I mean, it is. It's an economy of movement efficiency, right? And how many steps does it take to get that plate from point A to the customer's table? And if you're trying to do volume, which you're trying to do in the food business, it's not like you're in real estate, I guess. So, you sell a couple of big houses, you're good for the year, right? Whereas this, we've got to be constantly moving and getting stuff out, making sure people are getting things relatively quick. Because, again, this is fast food at the end of the day. This is not, we're a fast casual dining environment. You come in, you place your order, you sit down with a number, and somebody brings it to you. But you're right. It's got to be efficient. It's got to be quick. And those differences of where you put the bread versus where the meat is, even if you're talking about 2 or 3 seconds or one extra step, when you multiply that over, 100 sandwiches in a day or 3,000 sandwiches in a week, it can cause a big difference in time, energy, and then at the end of the day, your time is your money, so money at the end of it.
So are you constantly testing recipes on the meats?
No, the meat is set. The one thing about the meat that is interesting that we're trying to promote to people and is actually kind of the bigger picture of what the business is we're not necessarily a restaurant business, we're a meat business. And this meat can be used for a lot of other things other than sandwiches. So and I've had customers do this. They'll eat half a sandwich, take the other sandwich home, get rid of the bread, and then they'll make like a corned beef hash with eggs, chop it up with some onions and some potatoes and make a hash out of it. Great pizza topping. Like, if you don't finish half this, if you're having a pizza tonight, just throw a little bit of it on before you put it in the oven. Gets all caramelized and nice. Phenomenal pizza topping. We can slice it thin, make like a Jewish or even a Muslim bacon because there's no pork involved. Fry it up with some eggs. Incredibly nice. Really nice addition to something that you're doing. Make a popcorn with some of the fat ends. So it's where we take the fat, we render it down, turn it into a butter, and then we pop corn in it. And it kind of puts some of the crumbles. We take some of the meat, chop it up, and fry it, and put it on almost like a chicharrone on top of it.
You have a great Augies recipe book right there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, that's the idea, right? Is prosciutto 50 years ago was just Italian ham that you wrapped in a piece of melon, and now you use it in all different types of recipes. And we can do the same thing with the Montreal smoked meat, macaroni and cheese. I would make spaghetti sauce with it. That's really good. Chop it up fine, fry it with some onions. Put a little tomato sauce in there as a substitute to ground beef. Frickin' super tasty. So the idea is to kind of grow what this meat can be used as, and not just a sandwich meat, but a topping for other things. Put it on a cheeseburger. Super good. So there's a bunch of options like that, and that's what we are eventually trying to push. Is that not push, but explain and educate that this is not just something that is a sandwich product, but more of a consumer product.
So right now, are you only selling sandwiches, or can people go there and buy meat by itself?
Yeah, we have meat by the pound and the half pound. We ship all over the country right now, which has been a big thing. We're the only folks west of Brooklyn right now that are shipping our meat across the country. So when I get done with you, I got to go back to the shop, and I got to bag up 5 pounds for a customer in Albuquerque who read an article in San Francisco Magazine. Again, the wonders of the internet, right? Read an article in San Francisco Magazine. The guy he's not even online. I had to do everything for him, but he read the article, called me up. Hey, man, I want to get a couple pounds sent down to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we're sending meat to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that's another big part of what we do is the online direct-to-consumer shipping of the product.
And what are your prices if people want to buy meat
$20 a pound. Right now we got it on sale for $15 a pound, plus a $5 handling fee, and then we do flat rate postage. So it's like $13 if you want under 5 pounds of meat. If you want between 5 or 8 pounds, they come in like 1 pound pouches. We can do it for $18. Flat rate shipping, 2-day shipping. It travels really well. Put some ice packs in there, but again, it's cured and it's vacuum sealed. And the reason why our ancestors cured meat because we didn't have refrigerators back in the day, and you had to keep stuff around for a while. So it's a very stable product, and it allows for you to ship it very easily and still come out as good as if you were to come get it in the deli.
Very cool. What's the atmosphere like over at the deli?
From what I've heard, it's very deli-like. I mean, I don't know if there's a better way to put it. It's a lot of subway tile. We have some cool mosaic and some tile work that a buddy of mine did for us, and that I did a hell of a lot of. I put a lot of tile on those damn walls, man. So it's got kind of a sports bar without too much drunkenness, I guess, and kind of this like old deli feel. We have, raw concrete floors that have been polished, and wooden tables. So it's got that. It's not like a fancy restaurant, but it's not like a Subway, McDonald's to go counter. It's somewhere kind of in the middle. And again, the subway tile, some of the schoolhouse lighting feels very deli-like. It does feel like you were in a deli somewhere on the East Coast. And again, when we've got games going on, when the Warriors are playing or there's hockey happening, we are the hockey bar for the East Bay. So if you're listening and you're like, man, I just really want to watch the hockey game and drink a couple beers and not be relegated to the 18-inch TV in the corner with no volume, come see us at Augies at 875 Potter Street, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of. But obviously we have the basketball games on as well, baseball during the summer, football on Sundays. But it's not like that overbearing sports bar thing where there's just jerseys everywhere and it doesn't feel like a Buffalo Wild Wings necessarily. Again, it's a mix between kind of like a sports bar and a deli is the best way to describe it. It's not super loud, so if you're coming to kind of hang out and chat with somebody you haven't seen in a while, it's a very comfortable environment. Plenty of parking out front. We have some outdoor seating as well. So, I mean, that's the best way to describe it, I think.
Yeah. What were some of the challenges you faced when you opened up the restaurant or the deli?
Oh, man. You're going to get me in trouble with the city, bro. What are you trying to do? You're trying to get them to pull all my permits and stuff? Come on, man. All I'm saying is I had to do this all in the city of Berkeley. How about that? And then everybody who's listening
tough, right?
who's, yeah, and, I didn't want to go in with that mentality, but there was a lot of hurdles that had to be cleared. So I'm going to put my positive spin on it instead of get myself in trouble with the city of Berkeley. And as you know, being a small businessman, you're always finding solutions and overcoming hurdles. And I did not know this because this is my first venture in such a thing. I used to just work for other people and cash a paycheck. But there's always hurdles you got to overcome. You're in real estate,
Yep.
right? So you got a deal that's set up. You thought that the pest report was X, and now it turns out to be Y, and you've got a seller or a buyer who's super upset because it's not what they expected. Now you've got to figure out the way to work around that, right?
Yeah.
And to figure that solution out.
Or worst case, they have to back out and find another property, and they just wasted $800 on inspections.
Exactly. But again, that's your problem, right?
Yeah.
That's not their problem. You've got to figure out the solution and how to counteract that and fix that. So the way I looked at the whole process was, it's like survival of the fittest. This is some natural selection, and as you own a business, again, as you know, owning a successful business, you got hurdles you got to overcome. And if you can't so when you're dealing with the city, it's like training for you. No, you can't do this. You got to do it this way. Okay, let's figure out another way to do it. Let's work around this way. If you can't overcome those hurdles from the city or from zoning or planning or regulations, how the hell are you going to overcome those hurdles when you open up shop and your refrigerator stops working, or you got this house that you're about to sell and all of a sudden it's a $12,000 pest report that nobody was expecting? If you can't do that from the beginning, you probably shouldn't be getting into business for yourself. So I looked at it as my positive spin on that. It was a pain in the ass, but it was training, and it got me in that mindset of I'm going to have to figure out solutions to problems, be they with employees, be them with food or equipment or customers. You got to have that problem solver mentality.
And many times the government issues are the easiest to fix.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
you're dealing with the public. You're dealing with people face to face.
Individuals, for sure.
Everyone's got their own personality.
Yes, opinions.
Exactly.
For
that's
sure.
That's even worse.
So that's the positive spin that I like to try to. I could be bitter, I could be negative, I could be that dude, but we're not haters in the Bay, right?
Yeah.
We're not haters. Don't hate the player, hate the game, and you just kind of try to find a way to work around that. So there were obstacles, of course, but I think it's made me, especially as a first-time business owner, a lot more nimble and a lot more resilient. And I think in the end game, it will probably be to my benefit. And if everything had just been 1, 2, 3, fill out this form, sign this, pay this permit fee, and everything would have been done, I probably wouldn't be as in good a position to try to succeed going forward as I am, because I had to overcome those obstacles. Again, as you well know, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the game.
Yeah, it is. So
I think I kept myself out of trouble there, right? I should be
yeah,
good,
you
right?
did.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I think that was perfect.
We're good.
That was perfect.
All right.
We're good. Yeah. So going forward, what are the goals for Augies?
Right now, I'd like to stop losing weight. If anybody wants to get on a diet plan, like screw Atkins, forget all those diet things.
Right?
Open up a business, start your own business, and then all of a sudden, like you're like shedding the pounds, dude. I was like 200 and some pounds when I started this thing 2 months ago. I'm down to fighting weight. I'm down to like high school, first year of college weight right now. So that'd be good. Challenge, maybe stop some of the stress. No, I'm just kidding. I joke with people though that it's it's not that weight loss because I took my ass to the gym and got in shape, but it's also not the weight loss like I started smoking meth or smoking crack. It's like somewhere right in between, like healthy weight loss.
That's the
and
owning
incredibly
the business.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that owning business weight loss.
Yeah.
Again, it's the owning business weight loss program. No, I mean seriously, we'd probably like to open another spot or so. Right now, it would be good just to get everything. I'd like to maybe get a day off. That would be nice. The small things, the little stuff, hang out with my kids a little bit more. It's been starting to get to that point. I got to take my son to Little League yesterday, so that was fun. Augie, who the restaurant's named after. But the idea is to probably open up another one.
He's going to grow up with an ego. He's got a restaurant named after him.
Well, we bring his ass into work, so then he realizes what it's about. I got him wiping tables and pressing the flesh because, it's not child labor if it's your children. Child labor laws do not apply when it's your kids. So we bring them in there and we've got them working. We have some other items on the menu named after my other two kids because I was worried about the ego and worried about them hating him. So the poutine is named after my daughter Georgie. We do a turkey product that's very similar to the beef, named after my son Atticus. So everybody gets some love in the business. We'll see what happens. South Bay is probably somewhere we would like to get to. At some point, again, assuming we can get through, this first year is obviously critical for businesses and food businesses in particular. So I don't want to, right now, that would be maybe a long-term thing, but at this stage, man, 7 weeks in, I just want this to be successful. I just want people to be happy. I just want to put the product out consistently, make sure we give ridiculous customer service. If you're not delighted at Augies, we're going to make sure we do everything right. I had somebody who came in, something was a little bit overdone. They got some latkes, which are like potato pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
We do our version, it was a little bit overdone. They're like, yeah, it was a little overdone. I'm not going to charge you for that. I will give you money out of my own pocket to make sure that that's covered, and we'll get you another one so that your experience is good, because I hate when I go into a restaurant and I don't get what I pay for. Like, I hate that. I hate when I go into a restaurant and I'm hungry when I leave, or it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And if the owner or a server come up and take care of me and make sure that even if I didn't have the greatest experience from the food-wise, I had a great customer service experience, I'm probably going to come back and give them a shot. And I'm probably going to tell people that, hey, man, I went to this place, like, whatever, they screwed up my steak, but they came and took care of it and took care of me and gave me great, excellent customer service, and I'm coming back just as a result of that. That's something we're key on at Augies. If you come in and you're not liking it or it wasn't what you thought, we're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure that you're delighted and that you're happy and that you're satisfied, not only because it's good business, but because that's the way that I would want to get treated. And how am I going to run something that doesn't represent kind of what I think and what I want to do?
Well, if you look at some of the most successful restaurant businesses, they really excel at customer service. Sometimes their food is not the best, but they excel at customer service, and people love the experience of going back there over and over again. But if you combine that with excellent food, that's where you just explode and you become like an icon in your city.
Well, that's what, and again, that's what we're hoping for, and that's what we're striving to do. And again, it's not just for a business reason, and I want to emphasize that. It's because that's how I would want to be treated. And I'm that type of dude. I'm that kid who that's how I want it. That's how I want to do things. I want to be treated the way I want my customers to feel, the way that I would want to feel. And so we try to do that at Augies. So that's kind of our main thing, is let's put out some really good food. Let's put out something that's unique. Let's create a nice environment and vibe for people. And mostly make sure people come, if they come hungry, want them to leave satisfied, and I want them to be delighted with their experience. Warren Buffett said that, and it really stuck with me. Like, advice he gave for people starting out businesses is no business that excelled and worked and thought about how they were going to leave their customers not just satisfied but delighted has ever failed in the history of business. And if you focus on that one kind of keystone aspect of what you're doing, you're going to be successful. And it's something that's big for me. If my managers and even my employees, my runners, have the authority, and maybe it's going to come back and bite me in the ass because they're going to be comping all their friends or whatever. I don't think so. We got a really good staff that I love and trust, but they have the authority to make sure that we make things right for people. And I've been shocked by how many times people come in, maybe they're expecting something different, and they didn't like the pickle, or they didn't like this, or they didn't like that. And we've been able to approach them in a way that was respectful, not condescending or pandering, and they come back again and give us another shot. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that is way better than it was last time. Maybe I just caught a bad piece of meat, or didn't come out as hot, or there was a delay in the kitchen. So that's really big to where we're at. So going forward, I'm not so worried about what the future is. We have some ideas, we have some plans, but let's just focus on making sure we're getting this done right and people are happy. And like you said, if you provide great customer service, you provide good food, everything else is going to come along with it, right?
Yeah. So I want to ask you, going back a little bit, so clearly we know how you feel about customer service and making sure that person has a delightful experience over at Augies. How do you translate your passion into the people that work for you so that they can convey that same passion to the customers? Because obviously you're not facing every single customer face to face.
I'm damn near. I damn near am, Mark. Seriously, I am damn near out there. I mean, I'm there all the time, and I try to be. But that's a great question, and it's an important one. Again, man, treat people the way you want to be treated. I always drove me crazy. Again, I'm not a business guy. Maybe this isn't going to work out. Maybe this is the wrong mentality to have, but this whole idea that you can justify treating people badly or employees badly or being rude or being a jerk because it's quote unquote, this is just business. I just think that's, again, we're a podcast, so I can say it. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I think that's complete bullshit, and I think that's a bad way to not only live your life but run your business. And if I have to do quote unquote business like that, I don't want to do it. So we treat our employees well. We pay them well. We pay them above minimum wage. The people that we have working for us are some of the hardest working people in the world. And that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother episode. But I want to reward them for that. And if it means I make less money, or even my investors make a little less money, so we can keep our employees feeling good, feeling happy, then that translates. So one of the things we do is everybody's idea is a good idea. So if you have some idea about trying to take this meat and do some special with it, I will 100% let you do that. Please come with the ideas, bring it yourself, and let's work with that. We do tip pooling, so we try to not take cash at Augies. And there's some people who get frustrated or get upset about it. We will take your cash if that's all you have, if you don't have a card, but we prefer a card because we do tip pooling for our back-of-the-house employees. Been a big tradition in the restaurant industry where the legalities of tipping are that when you give me $3 or $5 or 20% of whatever the bill is, if you give that to me in cash, that then becomes my property. As soon as that transaction occurs. Now I can be a cool dude and I can go split it with the people at the back of the house, the people that put the food together, that people enjoyed, that is the reason why they're giving the money in the first place, or I can take it and I can put it in my pocket. So we do tip pooling through our POS system, Square. Shout out to Square. If there's any small business people trying to get down with Square. Love them. And they calculate, they do our payroll for us as well. So they take the total number of hours worked by all of our employees in a work week, and then take each individual employee's hours, calculate that as a percentage, take the tips that come in via the credit card processing, and add that onto their paycheck. So a couple weeks ago, one of our dishwashers, base salary of $15 an hour, ended up making $21 an hour when you included tips on there.
Wow.
So for him, again, immigrant guy, hardworking dude, incredibly hardworking dude. This is some of the best pay that he's got since he's been in this country, working hard to make a living and support his family because we set it up like that. So guess what? When I need an extra shift, yeah, Lex, no problem. Yeah, oh, totally can help out. Hey, you think I get you stay for an extra hour, or can you come in later, or can you come in earlier, or can you do this, can you do that? Yeah, no problem, because we're taking care of people. We're treating them with respect, and we're trying to pay them as well as we possibly can. And again, we take the hit and allow them to have a living wage, and again, not go with this it's business as usual mentality. I don't buy that. I don't buy into that. And if I've got to run my business like that, I'm probably not going to be running a business.
Yeah, one of the best books I read, and just read this a few months ago, is Ray Dalio's Principles.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Dalio
I'm not familiar with him, so educate me.
He built Bridgewater Associates, which is the world's biggest hedge fund.
Okay.
And so, and it's funny, like back in, I think, the 70s, he basically went broke and lost his entire company, rebuilt from scratch. But he did a twist on it to where, hey, I had this entire model wrong. I need to focus on the employees instead. And basically that's one of his big chapters principles, that it's not your customers that are number one, it's your employees.
Right.
Yeah, if you take care of your employees and keep them ahead of the game, number one, that's when your business excels.
Right.
Yeah, and it was a very great chapter, and everything what he talked about, it was a great book.
Well, and I believe in that. I mean, and that's kind of the Bay Area mentality, right? Like, that's how, these startups work. Everybody's opinion matters, and it's not this old school, I hate to, start the whole Biggie, Tupac, East Coast, West Coast war again, but that's a very East Coast mentality of you should just be happy that you have a job.
Yeah.
And show up and do your job and shut the hell up and know your role and know your place in the pecking order and be quiet. I don't believe that it doesn't have to be like that anymore. Yeah, maybe it had to be like that when we were making, shoes in factories or paper or something like that, but that's not what we're doing. So I think that's a great point, and I totally buy into that. And again, you can get a mentality, you can get a feel from people, especially employees, if the place they work sucks. And dude, life's too short. Who wants to work at some place that sucks, right? Like, I try to treat people the way I want to be treated. I've worked in environments that were like that. I'm sure you have as well. And it sucks. There's nothing worse than dreading going to work every day, right?
Yep.
Like, that's the worst feeling in the world, just so you can make enough money to pay your bills and get by. So if we don't have to do it that way, why do it that way?
Yeah. Now, one other thing you also mentioned is giving your employees the ability to handle issues on their own, right?
Right. Totally. Empower them. I want them to feel like they don't have to be like, hey, Lex, can I do this? Can I do that? No, look, let's make it right. And I understand there's processes.
And I think that's where a lot of business owners struggle with their employees, is that they don't give the employees the power in order to make decisions on their own.
Right. Totally. And again, we want to empower our employees. We want them to be able to do their job. And big part of doing their job at Augies is making sure that people are happy, man, that when they leave, they got a smile on their face. They felt like they got a good value for what they paid for. The food was good. People were nice. People were attentive. Again, it's fast casual service, right? It's not a waiter or a waitress who's sitting down, who's, pouring you your glass of wine, asking if you need another water. It's not that type of service model, but we can provide some of that by checking in. Hey, you need some more pickles or coleslaw? Was everything okay? Did you like it? Any suggestions, any feedback, and also come with that kind of humble approach of like, we're not perfect. We're not the best at doing X, Y, or Z, and we're always looking to improve. And if there's something we can do besides putting cheese or mayonnaise on my sandwiches, because you can't do that, I tell people, you want to defile my sandwich, do that shit in the privacy of your own home. Do not do it at Augies. But other than that, like, some feedback. Hey, maybe this portion should be bigger. Our coleslaw portions were a 2-ounce portion, which is more traditional of what you get in Montreal. We had some customers say, we really like the coleslaw. Any way you could like up the portion size? Looked at it, ran the numbers. Yeah, absolutely. We can up the portion size of the coleslaw, not have to affect the price or change the price of the sandwich. We had that flexibility. So now we doubled our coleslaw stuff. So again, being open to that stuff, I think it also makes customers feel like they have not ownership. That's a little too extreme and too strong a sense, but they have some
kind of say.
Yeah, exactly, in how things are going and what their experience is going to be like. And again, as a consumer, I go back to it. I just want to be treated the way I would like to be treated. And if I go in somewhere, I'm like, hey, man, why don't you try doing this? This would have made my experience better. And I come back a week later and they've done that. I'm like, oh, okay. These people are attentive and care and are humble enough to take that feedback, critical criticism without getting their egos hurt, without getting upset, and doing something that improved their product, which improved my experience, which then is going to have me talking to everybody and saying, hey, man, come on back and come check out the spot because they did X, Y, and Z, and it was amazing, and it made things better. So, again, that's the mentality that I want to have. And who knows, maybe there's folks listening out here be like, no, you got to be a jerk, and you got to be a hard-ass businessman, and you're going to fail. And who knows, maybe I will, but even if I do, at least I go on my own terms. I go on my, right, I'm going down the way that I wanted to do it, and I'll say I tried to do it in the way that I thought was right. And
one of the best quotes is, it's better to die on your own sword than someone else's.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Let's hope nobody's dying on anybody's sword. So no death. It's not that deep, right? At the end of the day, it's just it's business. It's a sandwich. Hopefully it works out, but nobody's going to die on anybody's sword. So regardless of what happens.
So what type of marketing are you doing to promote your business?
So that's the big one, dude. That's where we're at. That's why I'm glad to be on here talking. Is we've done a lot of social media outreach. The pop-ups were a huge marketing tool because again, we had a group of people that were already well aware of who we were, what we were, and what we were about, and then we had a good product who would come and check us out. When we were looking and my partners were talking to me, oh, we got to do marketing, I was like, look, I'm down, and we do have to do marketing. I absolutely agree with that. But if the product isn't coming out the way that we need the product to come out consistently all the time, our staff isn't trained, isn't feeling comfortable with how we're trying to run things, if we go and spend all this money marketing as soon as we open and we get flooded by people and the product isn't coming out and the food isn't coming out the way that we want it to and the staff isn't presenting it the way we want it to, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot because we're going to have all these people coming through and kind of getting a not up to my standards product, and they may not come back. So let's take a month or two. Let's make sure we've got everything down, got everybody trained, everything's coming out the way we want it to. Our Yelp reviews, Facebook reviews, Foursquare reviews are coming out excellent. And then let's start marketing. Let's start doing a push. So we're obviously going to continue the social media online marketing approach because it's way more cost effective than advertising on TV or on the radio. But we will do some of that as well and kind of try to be a little more specific about the audiences we target. The Canadian community in Northern California is very well aware of us, so I don't think we need to push so much on that. But this is a Jewish Canadian deli, so we need to start attracting more of that crowd and let them know, hey, you've tried the New York deli and it's great, and there's some phenomenal delis in the area. Saul's, Wise Sons Delis, love them. I love going there and getting some of the stuff they have to offer. But here's a little different take on that. Here's a little different twist on that. Come give us a try. Check it out. Again, it's something that's it's a novelty, but it's a familiar novelty for you. You know what these things are. They're a little bit different. We've got our little Canadian Montreal take on it, but it's very similar to what you've eaten before. So try to outreach to a little bit more of those folks, and then start bringing in just the average Bay Area foodie, right? We all are very sophisticated here. I don't care where you're from in the Bay Area. You could be from the poorest, most hoodiest hood in Richmond or East Oakland or wherever. Your palate is way more advanced than anywhere else in the country, so right? I mean, like people take it for granted here. Even if you don't have a lot of money, you could go get some incredibly good food and some incredibly high-end food basically anywhere in. I mean, there's some taco trucks putting out stuff that is just phenomenal that would be 5-star in any other market in the country. So it's now time to kind of start bringing those people on board and bringing the masses, as far as people that aren't necessarily Canadian or Jewish and already familiar with this food, to start bringing them in and be like, here's something else that's cool, that's good, that you can get in the Bay Area, that you can enjoy, that you'll get a good value for, and that you'll be happy with. So we'll start to kind of reach out to maybe some more of those mainstream media outlets as we go. But again, money, right? Like, got to make the money to do that as well. So
yeah, but I like all the marketing you can do. If your product sucks,
doesn't matter.
So you have to make sure your product is good. Obviously, it's extremely well, and I think you guys are going to be very successful.
I hope so, man. I hope I'm not hitting you up in a month and like, yo, man, think I get a loan, bro? I'm almost there, man. I need a loan for some marketing money, man. Come on, got a good property for me somewhere? No, I appreciate that, and that's what we're working towards. So, folks are listening. Come down, check us out. You can order online for pickup ahead of time at augiesmontrealdeli.com. That's AUGIES Montreal MONTREAL deli.com. If you just Google search Augies Montreal, we're the first thing that pops up. Canadian food in the Bay Area, we're the first thing that pops up. A lot of good beers for folks to come test, sample. If you've got friends who are Canadian somewhere else in the country.
When do you have the sour beer?
About a week or two. Okay. But if you want to bring in a bottle of your own beer, we can, I'm sure we can. I'm not sure. Let me check with my liquor person, but I think we can figure it out. But again, we got Molson.
I'll come in a couple weeks.
There you go.
And then try the pairing.
Okay, that works. We got you covered. Yeah, we'll probably be in the second or third round. We'll see if the Sharks are still in it. The Warriors, I'm sure, will have to definitely still be in it by that point. So, yeah, come on, hang out, have some beers, have some sandwiches, and watch a little bit of sports, and just, again, hang out. A lot of people in our neighborhood are, like, starting to discover us and are like, cool, finally a place to come hang out at. So that's what we want to be. I'll be there for the rest of my life. So if you're looking for me, I'll be there always and forever. So yeah, come see us. Come check us out. Check out our menu again, AugiesMontrealDeli.com. And yeah, man, that's what we're doing.
Perfect.
Right on.
Well, Lex, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate the time.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and link up the website, everything. And I'm excited to try it in a few weeks.
Yeah, man.
I'll be down there.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time, man.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our guest, Lex Gopnik-Lewinski, for joining us today. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lubman. And a big thank you to our sponsor, East Brother Beer, for providing us with today's beer tasting. For more information on today's beer and East Brother, go to their website at www.eastbrotherbeer.com. For more information on what I do as a property manager, visit my website at markguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.